Let's chat personal finance. It's time for our Money Matters feature here on The Move. And, when we speak about love, for many, love becomes, the first step. And then eventually, many people still want to get married to the love of their love.
Or maybe it starts with money.
Maybe it starts with money in the first place, right? But, marriage can be a beautiful thing, especially for those who do want to sign up for it. And a lot of experts are saying more and more couples are actually starting to have more honest conversations about what happens if things don't go according to plan. So something that has once seen as unromantic, as cold, and maybe you're just not that into me, are prenups. That conversation has caused a lot of fighting between couples who are wishing to tie the knot. So even though tradition and culture has long shaped how we view marriage, there's a growing shift that's happening in that space where people are realizing that planning for the future, all of it, isn't just about doubting love, but also about being realistic and fair when it comes to money. So we're finding out a little bit about how to navigate that structure. We're getting a 101 on prenups this morning with Kathleen Mureithi, head of training at Centonomy, which is a financial consultancy firm, a huge friend of the show. Kathleen, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for always having me. How are you guys? It's so cold in Nairobi.
Oh, sorry.
We're sorry about that.
Yeah, we also have an everlasting winter here in Joburg, so you're not on your own. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me feel so nice.
Kathleen, this word I'm sure has caused a lot of fights between couples in the past. As soon as one person suggests prenup, it's you don't love me, you're thinking we're going to break up, you're not as committed to our relationship as you used to. But it seems like that sentiment is changing these days.
It is actually, and that's a good thing because, in an African setup, we are more or less inclined to the accrual system, what's yours is mine, what's mine is yours, and then you get to a point where you're getting married to someone and they have a significant liability or debts, and then now you have to take care of that, and that's where now the prenup comes in, because it's more or less like a financial blueprint, ground rules for what ifs, scenarios. We often think of it in terms of divorce, unfortunately, but it is much broader than that. It's about the clarity, the protection, the fairness, and it sets out in advance how assets, debts, and even certain responsibilities will be handled in the event a marriage ends. So it's more or less, the way we have car insurances, we don't get it because we expect accidents, but because we want to be prepared in the event that happens. So it's a proactive way of safeguarding your financial well-being, and because it's a legal agreement, so it's set out to protect how a couple's assets, financial responsibilities will be handled in the event a marriage ends. So it's not a bad thing. I feel like because most of the people that do this are the wealthy, quote unquote, the rich, and because we are brought up in a community system where now what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, people really shy away from setting out to do this. But it's just you protecting yourself, because think about this, there's some ancestral lands that you want to safeguard. You've inherited a piece of property, there's a family business that's going to be yours at some point. So you're getting into a marriage where you have a home, you have an investment portfolio, you've even built a lot of things. So a prenup clearly states that these things are yours, and it outlines that they should be treated as that going forward. So even sentimental assets like heirlooms or whatnot, the beauty of the prenup here, it reduces the gray area, so there's no confusion later about who owned what before you guys got to the chapel and said, I do.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about in what format the prenup comes in. Is it a legal document? Is it an agreement by just me and you saying to one another, we're going to have a prenup? How is a prenup physically looking like?
It's a legal agreement. We usually call it the prenuptial agreement. So it's an agreement that clearly dictates how you as a couple, the two of you, your assets, your debts, your financial responsibilities will be handled during the marriage, and unfortunately if the marriage ends. So it's something that we should advocate for, because at the end of the day, if you look at the laws, there are some things that are enforceable and possible based on the legalities of the land. So you have to sit down with a lawyer, with an attorney, and in this case it's usually advisable to have two separate attorneys, because you're an independent person coming together to be one with another independent person. So now you sit down, you say, this is what I have in terms of assets. These are my financial responsibilities. I usually take care of my parents back at home. There's black tax. These are my spending habits. Basically, everything and anything about you with regards to your personal finances, so that by the time you're getting into the marriage, the other person has a clear picture of how you are financially, and they're able to even protect themselves in the event. So you do that before you get married. But in some cases, you usually find this out when you're in marriage. Let's just be honest, most of us are really not honest. So you have a significant liability somewhere, you're not telling your partner. But now, because this is a legal agreement, it can be amended, it can be updated. So it's not something that's rigid or fixed. So you can draft, review, amend as you continue with the marriage.
Kathleen, you said the prenup isn't just about divorce, and I think that's a lot of people's concept of the prenup itself. What happens when we divorce or if we divorce, and that's why it makes a lot of people quite uncomfortable to think about separating with the love of their lives. But you said it is quite important in the marriage itself. What are some of the considerations to make in the prenup? And I want you to explain this to us in point form, clear and concisely, so we really understand the intricacies of this document.
Well, so now the prenup has the following inputs, So the first thing is you need to more or less put a clause that says we have had this conversation, the why statement, why are we having this prenup, so now you list down, my name is Kathleen, this is my age, I have 2 parents, I'm taking care of them, so a bigger chunk of my money goes into taking care of my parents. Basically, all your financial responsibilities as a person. Are you in debt? You list them all down, and then the other person does the same. Then now there's the bit where there's family property that you probably inherit, or ancestral land, or family business. So you list that down as well. So in the event this happens, I may inherit this piece of property, or there's a heirloom that was from my great-great-great-grandmother, so that might be mine at some point. So you list them all down so that everyone, the two of you, have an idea of this is where you stand financially. And then now there's also the bit, because we also come from a community setup, and this is where now the lawyers and the attorneys come in. So based on the legalities of the land, they are able to provide the provisions allowable in that state of system. For example, now in the community setup, we usually come into marriage where what's yours is mine. All right, so now I am in a huge debt, but when I get married to you, I expect you to take care of that. But that's not the case. So you can actually protect yourself and say, yes, I do know that you have this liability, but I will not be held accountable to taking care of that once we get married. So you see, now it protects you from, in the event creditors are going after your partner, unfortunately, they don't have to come to you. So you're protecting yourself also as an individual. And then the other bit now is to just disclose everything, then draft, review, and adjust. So it's not a final document per se, because it can be amended. People change along the way. People get broke. People get richer. So you just amend and adjust as you continue.
There's a misconception that the prenup is a document that is only necessary for the partner who's making the most money in the marriage. But it's actually, as you've stated, some of the things that say both people should be quite invested in getting a prenup. We'll continue finding out more information about the prenup from you after this break, Kathleen, so stay on the line. We're talking prenups. Let us know what your thoughts are. Join our live stream on YouTube and on Facebook. We are Channel Africa.
Ukatili wa kijinsia unaharibu maisha na kutenga jamii. Hutokea nyumbani, shuleni, kazini na mara nyingi kwa ukimya. Lakini hauwezi kuendelea. Ukiona, ongea. Ikiwa unaumia, funguka, kwa sababu kutofanya lolote sio chaguo. Sikiliza vituo vyote 19 vya redio kuanzia Jumatano ya tarehe 23 Julai kwenye mijadala, ushauri, tamthilia, maonyesho ya elimu na mahojiano na wataalamu, manusura, watunga sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
The SABC is pleased to announce the launch of the new self-registration platform. Vendors wishing to do business with the SABC can self-register on our internally developed platform. Vendors are able to access this platform on our website www.sabc.co.za/SABC/ under e-tenders or self-register at etender.sabc.co.za and follow the prompts. Visit SABC social media pages for more details.
9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, we have our friend Kathleen who's joining us on our Money Matters feature. We're speaking about this very unpopular, but it can be very much a contested environment when you speak about prenups, because it can make couples feel uncertain and also at times very worrying about the status of their relationships. We're trying to debunk all those myths around prenups, and Kathleen Mureithi is the head of training at Centonomy, which is a financial consultancy firm. Kathleen, let's talk a little bit about that, the protection of your partner. For instance, if your partner is a housewife, a lot of housewives lose the wealth of their families because nothing is actually set up administratively to protect them from debt. And I think that's something of a prenup that we don't talk enough about.
Yes, very true. Because the thing with the society is housewives do not have the earning potential, or rather they do not more or less bring income into the family. So more often than not, in the event something happens, they're not usually protected financially. But now with the prenup, you come together, you become as one, you are legally recognized as a couple. So if you do have a prenup, and in the event that comes into effect, it protects the housewife in the sense that if any liability, say for example from the other party, they can be able to protect themselves. Hey, please do not come for me. I do not have any capacity at this point. Let's figure out, or let's negotiate how we can be able to come up with a solution that provides a win-win paradigm to us all, And then in the event of death, say for example, or in the event of separation, there's also the bits over and above the estate planning that people with assets usually go about. The prenup usually sets forth how will my spouse be protected in the event that I'm not there to protect them myself, also even in the event of incapacitation. So it gives them some sort of protection in a way that in as much as I'm not bringing any income into the family, I am protected in the event something happens. However, there's also the myth that prenups are only for the people that have assets, the rich, the wealthy, but even anyone that has a future earning potential can benefit, so they might not be bringing income at this point, but because we are living together, we are in a marriage setup, I may have the earning potential in the future. So it also protects me in a way that when that time comes, it's advisable for the couple to go back to the lawyer, to go back to the attorney and adjust and amend so that the housewife is also protected. I also want to emphasize that, like in the African setup, there's the accrual system that we usually find ourselves in.
Yeah.
So you're getting married into a family, they're in huge debts, but because you have assets or you have earning potential, so now they transfer their liabilities to you because apparently you are the one who can be able to take care of that. So the prenup protects you in a way that I'm coming in, I know I have assets, I know I have property, but I am not responsible for any liabilities. More or less like you saying, here's my financial reality and here's how I'd like to protect myself moving forward. So there's mutual protection, and it provides a way where now mistrust doesn't come into the setup.
There are those who are in a situation whereby maybe they started not being contributors, right, when the relationship started, and maybe when the prenup was initially drawn up. But as the relationship starts, they start contributing to either the partner's business, that's part of the prenup negotiation. Maybe they also have invested in some elements of the household, and things have changed in terms of their ability to afford. Is it important to consider those elements when in that marriage and say, let's go back to that prenup? Maybe as a wife, you're saying, now I'm working, now I'm contributing to the business. In fact, I'm also employed in this business. Let's go back to the prenup agreement and readjust some of the factors. How important is that element? Because sometimes people don't gain from a marriage because of that prenup arrangement, because of how the relationship initially started.
Absolutely. You remember when I said that before you sign a prenup, you need to have a separate attorney? It's because of this bias. So now you're treated as independent parties coming together to sign this document before you become one. However, a prenup usually dictates that before you get into a marriage setup, if I had any assets, those are mine. Whatever we build in the marriage setup is shared equally, but further down the line, that sharing should be commensurate to the level of effort that the partner brings on board. So just because you're a wife, that does not equate to you getting the property or getting the assets equally. They usually, as attorneys, lawyers usually go down further and look at the level of effort. Was there peace? These unquantifiable, more or less provisions that partners bring into the household. Was there peace? Was the person peaceful? Was there a happy situation? Were you guys loving? All these things. So they look at the mental situation before and after. There's a lot of other experts that come involved, like the therapist, psychiatrists, all these people to ascertain the kind of level of effort that you provided. So even the sharing of properties is usually commensurate to that level of effort. So no woman, no man, in as much as they don't have the earning potential or in as much as they're not contributing financially into the building of their assets, should not sit down and say, all right, so I'm entitled to 50%. You might be surprised that you might not even get anything, because now the assets that you get or the provisions that you get in the event, now you have to go back to the prenup, has to be commensurate to the level of effort. So if there was a toxic situation, and that's why it's important to document everything. We have people who come with video recordings, people who come with WhatsApp messages, emails, all these things. So now if whatever you provided in the situation was 100% toxic, then now it even affects what you get in terms of the assets. So that should be it, and it's usually a clause in the prenup. So, and most people usually overlook it, and that's why it's very advisable to have an independent attorney, because now they look at your interest independently, based on your earning potential at that time before you get into the marriage, your possibility of earning if you're not earning before, your possibility of earning, future earning potential, and how that translates into how you should be protected in the event now you have to go back to the prenup and recalculate things.
Well, this is obviously very serious business, Kathleen, and big considerations to be made by both parties who get into a marriage. It's definitely not something to go into blindly, but I think we will consider all the information and the advice that you've given this morning about the prenups, and hopefully people don't take this as something that is bad for their relationship, or that means that you're not committed or not in love, but just as a form of protecting everybody that takes part in that particular marriage. Thank you, Kathleen. It's always a pleasure. Once again, let us know where we can find you on the socials and any of your contact details.
I am on all social media avenues, just Kathleen Mureithi. I also have a website, kathleenmureithi.com. You can be able to find all my details there. You can also find my company's details, Centonomy. We are across all social media avenues.
That's Head of Training at Centonomy, a financial consultancy firm, Kathleen Mureithi, giving us a 101 on prenups this morning for our Money Matters feature.